Hello, fellow fans. I'm Mark. With me is my co-host, the Holiday Whoville Master, Brian. What up, Brian?
Holiday Hooby Waddy.
Welcome everyone to UWF on the Chip and Company Podcast Network. On the last episode, Brian and I discussed what we thought could use some holiday cheer, attraction, restaurant, and show-wise at the Walt Disney parks. It was a great time, and we added our little pixie dust and holiday cheermeisters all over. On this week's episode, Brian and I are going to be discussing and reviewing some of our favorite holiday film classics. Now put on your ugly sweaters, hang up the mistletoe, get the can of Who Hash as UWF starts now.
All right, let's do this one last time.
Truth is, I am Iron Man.
Football is life.
I solemnly swear that I am up to no good.
X never, ever marks the spot.
Is Star Wars the one with the little wizard boy?
This is the way.
Avengers! Assemble.
Ah, chills. Literal chills.
Hello, fans, and happy holidays. Thank you all for uniting with us as we talk about all things fandom. Please give us a rate or review wherever you listen to your podcast so we can unite with more fans out there on the Chip and Company Podcast Network. Follow UWF on Facebook, Instagram, X, Twitter to have more fun with us and to see what we have to say as we say it.
Mark, I think that as we go about this particular episode, reviewing 4 of our favorite holiday films, such as Elf, A Christmas Story, Muppet Christmas Carol, and, well, you like it more than I do, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. People are going to wonder, especially with all the puns you made in the opening, of why we're not also discussing Jim Carrey's The Nightmare Before Christmas. So, Mark, I'm going to leave it up to you. Part of this rewind episode, should I also pull that part of the Jim Carrey review episode and put it in so we can review 5 films in this glorious holiday film review?
I would love for you, Brian, I would love to hear a review of Jim Carrey's A Nightmare Before Christmas.
Is that what I said? How the Grinch Stole Christmas. That's what I meant. And I can't even remember if we discussed it in our episode about Jim Carrey or if we discussed it in our episode about Dr. Seuss.
I believe we did both. Oh, man. Yes. Early in the UWF days, we did a Dr. Seuss episode talking all things Seussian. And of course, we had a chat Jim Carrey in our earlier days.
I'll find that. That'll go in here as well as our part of a rewind episode discussing the other 4 films.
Thank you, Brian. That way I don't have to ask, where are you, Christmas? Why can't I? Oh. And my heart shrank 3 sizes that episode. We're going to be starting this one with Jim Henson's The Muppet Christmas Carol. Just a whole lot of nostalgia, and even Michael Caine. Oh, Sir Michael Caine. You all might remember him from the Dark Knight trilogy, or I remember him from Jaws 4.
Don't worry, the nightmares will go away.
Being the Scrooge character in this take on it. And I tell you what, Brian, I checked it out. If you have Disney Plus, it's on there. Check it out. It holds up after all this time, and I will stand by it that it's still my favorite version or telling of A Christmas Carol.
It's my favorite version of The Christmas Carol too, with the exception of Iron Man 3. I really do. I really do. I love this movie so much. There is so many good one-liners that come out of it.
If you please, Mr. Scrooge, it's gotten colder. Yeah. And the bookkeeping staff would like to have an extra shovel full of coal for the fire.
We can't do the bookkeeping. Yeah, all of our pens have turned to inksicles. Yeah, our assets are frozen.
How would the bookkeepers like to be suddenly
unemployed? This is my island in the sun.
Every year I watch it, definitely within a week of Christmas. It's usually my Christmas Eve tradition. This year I moved it up a little bit, but only half my family was there, so we could come back to it on Christmas Eve. But I've decided that Michael Caine has just been old my entire life.
If you go back and you watch him in, like, say, Jaws 4, or you'd have to, I think, maybe go back a little bit more to, what's his name? Alfie? Not Alf, Alfie.
Gee. How do you suppose that happened?
You definitely get to see how Michael Caine was that young British stud that he was.
Young Michael Caine, he was a good looking dude. I love Michael Caine though, so any of that really works for me. There's so many good one-liners. The Rizzo and Gonzo stuff that goes on throughout the movie. When Rizzo has to jump from the top of the fence and then leaves his jelly beans behind and then slips between the bars and
You can fit through those bars? Yeah. You are such an idiot.
What? What?
like you said, best Christmas Carol out there. No offense, Jim Carrey. But I really prefer this one. The music is really good. It all holds
Yeah.
up so well. And Tiny Tim is just such a kind-hearted little frog.
God bless us, everyone.
All right, you brought up Jim Carrey's Christmas Carol. I also went back to watch that. I didn't mean to, but I kind of did, like Christmas Carol marathon where you had the Guy Pearce one that was on Hulu. That was an interesting take. I watched the Jim Carrey one, and then I also watched The Man Who Invented Christmas, which was kind of loosely based on Charles Dickens writing the book. This one, like, just held up. I love the songs. The Scrooge song to start it off with starts off on a high note. One More Sleep Till Christmas. Ah, that is so good. And then, of course, you have When Love Is Gone, which has disappeared but is making a comeback with the 4K version.
Love is gone. Love is gone. The sweetest dream.
For all of you who don't know, Disney and Jim Henson felt like the song didn't really fit in, so they cut it, but it's coming back. They found the negatives and they're going to reinsert it. So that's pretty great. But going back to Jim Carrey's Christmas Carol, I don't remember it being so creepy. Maybe it's the animation, but there's like one point where Marley in the beginning, when Jim Carrey is there to pay for the burial, and you just see the caretaker kind of staring at him. Ugh, chills. Not as scary as the ghost of Christmas Past in A Christmas Carol.
I can remember nearly 1900 years. I'm the ghost of Christmas past.
Oh my God, she gave me nightmares. Oh, but actually, you know what? She is scarier than that guy. What am I talking about? Don't at me saying she's not that scary. Go back and watch it. The floating white girl with the piercing blue eyes. She shows up at your bed saying, I have to help you, show you your Christmas past and things that you did. That was my horrible British accent. But anyways.
It is the British way.
Don't tell me you wouldn't have nightmares if she showed up.
The Ghost of Christmas Future isn't exactly the nicest looking thing either. He even scares Rizzo and Gonzo out of the movie for a little while there. I mean, every year we watch the movie, I've got to sit at a bedside of one of my kids because they're scared of the Ghost of Christmas Future. So,
really, that one? Yeah, that one is creepy. Especially, I mean, even Gonzo and Rizzo are like, yeah, we'll be back. So it was even kind of scary for them.
But we can agree that the large absent-minded spirit of the Ghost of Christmas Present, he is a fun part of this movie.
Oh yeah, and his song is a lot of fun as well.
It is the season of the heart, a special time of caring, the ways of love made clear.
Really good stuff. I like that. I like when they travel to the different houses and just Kermit the Frog being Bob Cratchit being so kind-hearted and Miss Piggy hating Ebenezer Scrooge and all that kind of stuff. But at the end, when he shows up at Bob's house and you didn't show up for work this morning, and he's got that look on his face, and Miss Piggy starts yelling at him, and he doubles his salary and pays off the mortgage. Like, it's just so kind-hearted. I really, Michael Caine does a really good job at being serious businessman.
Today, you become a man of business.
And then flipping the script at being the jolly, happy-go-lucky guy. Something I did notice this watch that I'd never noticed before. If you go back through when Scrooge talks to Dr. Bunsen Honeydew about the charity donation that he's going to make, Beaker's jaw literally drops to the floor, and Beaker uses his hand to put his mouth back together, and it cracks me up.
I need to go back and watch that. I don't know how I missed that.
It doesn't drop all the way to the floor, but it's open, and Beaker has to physically use his hand to put his mouth back together. It's hilarious.
I love Michael Caine in this, and good for him for treating this movie so seriously. It's you can only imagine, and there's pictures online of the making of the film. Just you know, it's a real man who's a professional actor acting with Muppets, but he treats them with respect, treats the scenes with respect, takes the role very seriously, and it pays off. He's definitely one of the best Scrooges that we've seen. Um, I mean, all due respect to Bill Murray and Scrooged, I think Michael Caine is arguably the best.
He goes out there too, like he sings, and I mean he's
Yep.
not a professionally trained singer, but he gives it his all, and it's really endearing. I This movie, one of the best aged movies from my childhood, without any question.
Now, have you seen from Jim Henson Emmett's Otter Jug Band Christmas? Have you caught that by any chance?
I have not.
That's a cute little Christmas special. It's not even an hour long, I believe. If you get a chance, check it out. You've probably seen on social media a blooper from it. Two of the characters are standing outside of a shop, and the Muppeteers are trying to get a barrel to roll out of the shop, and it's just not working that
I
well.
know exactly
And
what you're talking about.
yeah, so if you've seen it and you go just like Brian did, oh yeah, that's what it's from. Yep, it's from Emmett's Otter Jug Band Christmas, which is also a very fun title to say over and over.
One last thing about the Muppet Christmas Carol that just cracks me up every time is when the Ghost of Christmas Past takes him back and Gonzo ropes Scrooge's leg as he flies by, and then they get taken to the past, but then they go into the Ebenezer's old school when he was a kid, and Sam Eagle is the teacher, and he talks about how the building is so pristine and everything, and then the shelf falls because Rizzo and Gonzo are up there. He goes, "I've been meaning to fix that shelf," but Sam stands at the front.
You will love business. It is the American way.
Sam. It's just
Oh, it is the British way.
It makes me laugh every time.
I think Sam Eagle is one of the most underrated comedic Muppets that we have, especially if you've seen the attraction at Disney's Hollywood Studios, which I love, extremely underrated. And he goes,
Sam, are you about ready?
Yes, it's a glorious 3-hour finale.
You got a minute and a half.
I tell you what, go and watch the Muppet Vision 3D, whether it's Waldorf or Statler or Sam Eagle. They will make you laugh. Those jokes still hold up.
They salute to all nations, but mostly America.
Now we're going to move on, and we're going to move on to this tiny film that has grown over time more and more, so big that one channel and sometimes two channels show it for 24 hours straight. Of course, we can't talk about Christmas without talking about A Christmas Story, and don't worry, Brian and I won't shoot our eyes out.
I grew up on this movie. There's parts of this movie that hasn't aged super well in 2020. That is for sure. That will acknowledge right up front. But there's a lot of absolutely great stuff in there. We have this on TBS for those 24 hours that you were talking about, Mark. I have caught the first half of the movie way more. I've seen Randy say I can't put my arms down many more times than I have actually seen the Pink Bunny pajamas. But still, this entire movie really holds up for me. It really makes me laugh. I have a leg lamp ornament on my Christmas tree. It lights up and it says Fragile on it, just all of it. And then don't forget to drink your Ovaltine. I drop that in there every so often. There's some really funny stuff in this movie.
This movie has tons of great quotes. Whenever I see a fragile box, I definitely say, oh, look, it's Fragile. And you can't help but do it. I also had the leg lamp ornament, which fell, kind of ironically funny enough, and kind of broke in half like it did in the movie. That was entertaining. And then I'm definitely, when I'm not supposed to use a bad word, it will definitely come out fudge.
Only I didn't say fudge.
I love the dad in this movie whenever he's trying to fix something or just it's a major award.
Fragile. It must be Italian.
Well, I think that says fragile, honey.
Oh, yeah.
And just a shout out to Christmas Story musical. It was a live broadcast. I believe it was on Fox. It's hard to find anywhere now. I enjoyed it a lot. They went all over the Warner Brothers lot. Great job, great production. If you can check it out, do it. I think the songs are really fun and catchy. Matthew Broderick hosts it. Speaking of shout outs, I will not shout out A Christmas Story 2. If you haven't seen it, good.
I don't even know if I knew it existed.
Yep.
I genuinely had
It's
no
a
idea that
thing.
movie existed.
Came out in 2012. The plot is 5 years later. Ralphie has his eyes fixed on a car, but trouble sure to follow. Yep, that's the story.
I have only seen Peter Billingsley in 3 movies. That's Ralphie. He's in this. He is in Iron Man 1, and he comes back as the same character in Spider-Man Far From Home. Those are the only 3 movies I've ever seen that actor in. I think he also has a small cameo in Elf, but regardless.
He does. I thought you were going to forget that. I was like, Bryan, what?
Yeah, it's a very small cameo in Elf, but he is an elf. But I just, and the last joke that makes me laugh that I definitely quote every Christmas to the detriment of my poor wife is, "Don't make a bird that is smiling at me."
Yes, it's a beautiful duck. Yes, it really is. It's but you see, what? It's smiling at me. Okay. Beautiful. Yeah, yes.
That Christmas would live in our memories as the Christmas when we were introduced to Chinese turkey.
That's a good one. Christmas Story will always have a good place whenever, with our jobs being what they are, Christmas is a working holiday for us. And when you just need that Christmas feeling, I definitely put on the marathon. It's comforting to know it's there. And, at work, you put it on in the break room. That way everyone can just have a good laugh and kind of it's become a Christmas tradition, I think, for a lot of people to have A Christmas Story on. Even if it's in the background, it's there.
I think the funniest part about that family dinner scene at the end is that the actress that played the mom, Melinda Dillon, she can't keep it together. Like, I don't think they could get a cut of the film with her like keeping her composure, because it's just, if you watch that scene, just watch her, and it is downright hilarious. But my favorite character from this movie is Randy. Just, I can't put my arms down, and she has to unwrap the scarf from his mouth, and he's trying to keep up.
What's the matter? What you crying for?
Daddy's gonna kill Ralphie.
And you know what? Going back to the Ovaltine quote, I can definitely relate to Ralphie, where you're super excited, and bravo to the director, Bob Clark, who directed that scene very with tension. You have Ralphie trying to translate the code. Mom's banging on the door. They got to get into the restroom. And don't forget to drink your Ovaltine. Ovaltine? I think we've all been there where you're excited for something and just kind of a letdown. Well done with that one. And then we can't move on with when Ralphie says the really bad word and he blames it on his friend.
Now, I had heard that word at least 10 times a day from my old man. My father worked in profanity the way other artists might work in oils or clay. It was his true medium, a master. But I chickened out, and I blurted out the first name that came to mind.
Schwartz! Oh, I see.
And the moms call each other.
He heard it from your son.
You just hear, wow. Oh, but I love how the other mom, kind of guessed the dad at first, and she's like, what? No.
Yes, that. Do you know where he heard it? Probably from his father. No, he heard it from your son.
But I feel so bad that Ralphie's friend, the mom just goes, what? And then you just hear her kind of running away from the phone and just letting her son know that he did wrong.
Poor Schwartz.
And Bryan, I think our fans out there will be upset if we don't bring up the tongue scene being frozen to the pole.
Of course.
It's still funny, still holds up. I think it's a very good safety lesson. Don't do it.
Second best tongue sticking to a metal pole scene on film to me.
Oh, okay. I'll ask for everybody out there. Brian, what's your first?
I want you to tell me, Mark. You know what it is.
Oh no. No. No.
It's
Oh,
in a
is it?
little. It's in a place where the beer flows like wine.
Oh my gosh. Samsonite.
A little place called Aspen.
Oh,
Dumb and Dumber when he sticks. Oh look, Frost, and when he licks the pole on the ski lift. That makes me laugh. But you're correct. They absolutely stole it from A Christmas Story.
that's right, everyone. Only Brian could find a way to connect A Christmas Story to Dumb and Dumber, I think.
I think I can relate everything in my life to Dumb and Dumber.
You know what? We'll put that to the test. I'm gonna surprise you.
All right, fair.
Game on.
$20 says I can get you betting by the end of the day. You're on.
$20 also says I could get you to listen to our sponsors.
Hey guys, Diz Life Mark here, and I want to tell you all about the official travel partner here at Chip & Company. Let our good friend Sarah at Destination to Travel help you plan your next Disney vacation. Sarah specializes in planning dream vacations for your family. She's an authorized Disney vacation planner, and she can help with every step of your magical vacation. The best thing is that her services are 100% free. Want to travel beyond Disney? Sarah has you covered there too. Want to find out more? Fill out a trip request form over at the website at Chip & Co. or email her directly at sarahsolberg@d2travel.com. Start planning that dream vacation today. Email her at sarahsolberg@d2travel.com.
So Brian mentioned it earlier. Peter Billingsley does have a small part in our next Christmas flick, and of course, we're talking about the Will Ferrell comedy surprise hit from I don't know a small-time director who he might have started a certain cinematic universe. Maybe you know him, John Favreau. What was that movie called? Oh, that's right, Elf. Yes, that'll be our next movie we talk about, Elf.
Buddy the Elf, what's your favorite color?
John Favreau is a genius. The man launched the MCU, also gave us Baby Yoda, as I will stay away from his real name to stay away
He
from
has a name,
spoilers.
Brian. He has a
Yeah,
name.
I know he has a name, but I'm not supposed to say it because I don't know what the spoiler rules are.
That's true. That's true. We'll just call him Little Dude.
The child. But John Favreau is an absolute genius. When he shows up as the doctor in Elf, just when he tells him it's a boy, when he can't get Buddy to sit still, just John Favreau cracks me up when he's on screen. But this movie is amazing. From the one-liners of
Hey, buddy, want to pick some snowberries?
Not now, Arctic Pumpkin.
I love Zooey Deschanel's character in this movie. She doesn't have a huge part to play. She really doesn't. I don't know what it is about Zoe's voice either. It's not the prettiest singing voice, but I really, really like listening to it. She does sing a song in the movie that has not aged super well, that a lot of people have some issues with, but I still really like listening to Baby It's Cold Outside and her rendition of it.
Yeah.
Just a lot of really, really good stuff. But the guy that works at Gimbals that feels threatened because Buddy did all the light brights and the paper snowflakes and stuff all over, and he goes, call me on my radio. The code is Santa's got a brand new bag, and then he has to be Santa later on in the movie because Buddy fought the other Santa.
I agree. I like that song as well, and I think Zoe and Will sing it together as a duet. This song is really well done, and of course, you have the comedic ending to it, so it's definitely good. And if you have Netflix, check out Holiday Movies That Made Us. One of the 2 episodes is about Elf, and you can learn about the filmmaking process, how it has a very interesting way how it came to be. Good for Mr. John. I mean, before this, he only directed a movie called Made. It was a small film with Vince Vaughn, and if you've seen it, bravo. Not many people have, but it's a well-done movie because he did this in 2003, and he didn't even do Zathura yet. That came 2 years later, which I still think is a fun spin-off. If you're fans of Jumanji, check out Zathura. It's a good time. And I mean, 5 years after Elf is when he did Iron Man. So for anyone who takes a chance on this guy, it pays off. You know, not many people thought he could do Elf, pulled it off. Not many people thought he could do a big movie like Iron Man, obviously pulled it off. And he helped majorly with The Mandalorian. So keep giving this guy chances. He won't let you down. And also, shout out to his chef show and the chef movie. Highly recommend it for food fans out there. Each episode, and the movie will make you very hungry. So highly recommend it. Getting back to Elf, though, I remember when I first saw it, I was skeptical. Brian, are you a big Will Ferrell fan?
I am. I love Will Ferrell, and that's what I was going to say is I don't know if there's another actor that Jon Favreau could have pulled this movie off, with the exception of Will Ferrell, but he makes me laugh.
Yeah, I'm with you. I wasn't hooked on Will Ferrell yet. I mean, more cowbell on Saturday Night Live, and his Harry Carey impressions and the cheerleading stuff, that was all funny, but I wasn't like hugely sold on him. And then I went and saw this flick, and yeah, I was sold after that. Will Ferrell, he can carry a movie. He made me laugh, and I'm with you. I think this movie was made by him. I know some people had worries because it was around the time Old School came out with Will Ferrell being Will Ferrell as the Tank.
We're good streaking!
But he showed that he can do other kinds of comedy and pull it off as well.
Yeah, he appeals to all generations of film fans just more than just about anybody. Like you said, he can show up in Old School as Frank the Tank, or he could show up as the legend in Wedding Crashers.
Hey, Mom! The meatloaf! We want it now! The meatloaf!
He could do movies like Elf or Kicking and Screaming or something like that that's more targeted for kids. And then you kind of got in between, which is kind of where he's found himself now with Ricky Bobby and Eurovision and movies like that. But the man is a genius. He's not afraid to take chances, and that's what I respect. Is he's funny. Like, he takes a lot of swings and a lot of them don't really land, but I don't know. I think it's funny when we had that spring training in baseball a couple years ago when he played for a couple of different teams, actually suited up. Like, that was a funny gag. Like, the amount of swings he'll take, I'll continue to reward him because he still makes me laugh. Think about what you will about my maturity or immaturity there.
Yeah. Well, Brian, do you have I think I know what it is. What is your favorite Will Ferrell movie?
Anchorman.
Okay, I guess I don't know what it is.
It is. What were you thinking?
I thought you were going to say Megamind.
No. That's not even on my Mount Rushmore Will Ferrell films, but that's a good topic for the next one of maybe even the next Mount Rushmore. That's a good one, Mark. We might have to do that. Megamind is funny, but the fact that it's animated kind of pulls it down for me a little bit.
Well, do you want to guess what mine is? I'll actually be kind of surprised and impressed if you can guess what my favorite Will Ferrell movie is. It is a comedy, so it's not going to be
okay. It is a comedy. Okay.
Yep, it is a comedy, so it's not going to be out there.
Is it that one he did with Mark Wahlberg being policeman? The Other Guys? Is that what it was?
Brian, every time I think I have you figured out, you surprise me. You just know me so well. It is The Other Guys.
Yeah.
I think if you haven't seen The Other Guys and you want a really good, hilarious buddy cop film, check it out. Mark Wahlberg is hilarious in it, and I think him and Will Ferrell, I really hope we get more from The Other Guys.
Yeah, it's better than, I can't even remember the name of it, the Ryan Gosling, Russell Crowe one, though, that tried to do the exact same thing.
No.
You like that one better? What is that one even called? I can't even remember.
Brian, The Nice Guys? Now, okay, when I first saw it, I was like, all right, this is Shane Black being Shane Black. Even Robert Downey Jr. has a small cameo in that movie. But anyways, I like The Nice Guys. Maybe go back and watch it. See if it grows on you. I think Ryan Gosling is, for all you Hey Girl fans out there, Ryan Gosling's in it, and he does a pretty funny job, and we get to see Russell Crowe loosen up in it. So, you know what? Maybe I'll put that one when we revisit our movie jail. Maybe I'll try and save that movie.
Yeah, but Will Ferrell makes me laugh. Just all of Elf works. I love the part where him and Michael are putting the Christmas tree together, and Michael says, "How are we going to put the star on top?" And he goes, "I got it." Then he goes, takes the running start, jumps off the couch, and falls into the tree, and it falls over. That part really makes me laugh. All the basic food groups.
You like sugar, huh?
Is there sugar and syrup?
Yes.
Then yes. We elves try to stick to the 4 main food groups. Candy, candy canes, candy corns, and syrup.
The mom, she's the mom from Step Brothers as well. She's in a bunch of Will Ferrell projects. She is in Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist on NBC right now too.
Yes, yeah.
But there's she's a fun actress. I really like her, but she's just so loving whenever she gets spaghetti for every meal that Buddy makes for them. But the line when she asks Buddy of how he slept and his response is, "Great, I got a full 40 minutes." It's my life as the father of a newborn.
That scene where he just jumps on the tree, I've definitely been there where like, oh man, how are we gonna get up there? And
It crosses
never
your mind
really,
every time.
I was never that creative, and then watching that scene, I'm like, oh man, that'd be a lot of fun. And then of course, whenever you put up a tree, you think about that scene, you go, don't do it. Don't do it. But that's a good way to put the star in the tree.
I was watching this movie just yesterday with my 2 oldest kids, and it was the weirdest thing. Like, I got legitimately, I don't know if choked up's quite the right word, but I got legitimately touched by just how it all comes together with Zoe standing on, I think her name's Jody, standing on the truck and singing, "You better watch out, you better not cry, Santa Claus is coming to town."
Yeah.
And it was specifically when the little girl that Buddy met earlier in the film of saying, "Hey, I'll put in a good word for Santa for you," and she thanks Buddy for the gift that she asked for. But just when she starts singing, for some reason that really touched me. And this movie does a lot of, it walks that fine line between Christmas nostalgia and the spirit of the season, and just sheer comedy when he gives his dad that gift for the special someone, and when he talks to Peter Dinklage being the angry elf, just all that kind of stuff. It walks that really fine line that I want a Christmas movie to do, is to entertain me like it would any other time of the year, but to have that extra special touch that the Christmas season needs.
I agree with you. And if you watch that Netflix series I told you about, they go into that ending and how they originally didn't have something that pulled it all together. So I'm glad they figured out that ending. Depending on what kind of Christmas you're having, it can hit you in the feels. And going on, yeah, Zoe Deschanel, we already mentioned her, is great stuff in it. Of course, fans of New Girl, I'm sure, know her. And you brought up her singing. She can sing. She's got some albums out there. But this cast is actually really well. You have James Caan, who, I don't know, he was in a small movie called The Godfather, and you get to see him do comedy. And I don't know if it holds up, but I remember him in a movie called Mickey Blue Eyes with Hugh Grant. So I don't know if I want to shout that one out, even though I just mentioned it, but I'm glad he's doing comedy. But I think my favorite supporting character in this movie is Bob Newhart as Papa Elf. And I love his comedy style. It's amazing. It's subtle. He's a comedic legend, so bravo to him.
When he wants to hold the baby at the end and Buddy comes and sits in his lap, that cracked me up.
Yep. That's it for Elf. And Mr. Norwal, don't worry. Buddy found his dad.
Thanks, Mr. Narwhal.
Buddy also found some sponsors.
Is Disney World home to you? Realtor Victor Naraki can help make it a reality. Realtor Victor Naraki specializes in making your Disney home dreams come true. Second homes, investment homes, retirement, relocation. With Victor's input, he will show you the home opportunities that you don't get to see as a tourist. Imagine being at the park in minutes, walking around the World Showcase for daily exercise, watching the fireworks in your own backyard, or having Disney Springs as your local mall. Have you ever heard of Windermere, Winter Garden, Horizon West, Dr. Phillips, Claremont, Lake Nona, or Disney's own Celebration and Golden Oak? Victor will introduce you to these communities, which are just minutes to the magic. Stop imagining a Disney life and start living your dream today. Call Victor at 407-340-9375. And don't forget to mention that you heard all about Victor here on the Chip and Company Podcast Network. Head over to celebratingflorida.com and start living your magical life today.
All right, we're going to be moving on to the happiest Christmas movie there possibly is, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. We got Chevy Chase in this one. Now, they're taking a break this holiday season. They're not going to go check out Wally World. They're not going to go on a European vacation. They're going to stay home and invite the cousins, the family, the grandparents, and what could go wrong, right?
They still haven't gone to Vegas yet. I think Vegas comes after this, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Mark, I'm gonna put this out there.
Oh.
I got bored.
What?
I haven't watched this movie in a couple of years. I watched it yesterday and I got bored. I'm sorry.
Who are you?
Hey kids, look, a deer.
It made me laugh, but it just moves so slow. And most of these movies we've talked about, I understand I'm a hypocrite because none of them move super quickly. But I don't know, man. Like the scene with him in the attic is laugh out loud funny. All of that is extremely hilarious. I think I realized how bored I was getting right before Eddie showed up, and he's trying to get the Christmas lights to work, and then they work and then they don't work. I don't enjoy anything much with Julie Louise Dreyfus and the neighbors. Like all that just doesn't really fit with me. I don't know. Like I mean, it made me laugh. Like don't get me wrong, this is not I think this movie is overrated kind of deal. I just think it's 1989 and how movies used to be, and it just didn't keep my attention.
So even at just over 90 minutes, the film you think could have been trimmed and shortened to make it tighter and better?
I mean, I would have loved just a little bit more story, I think. I don't know what story that would be. When they're going to get the Christmas tree at the beginning of the movie and they get run off the road and fly through the fence and the sign and say, "Oh wow, we made good time," and everybody's like all over the car, like all that really cracks me up. But I don't know. It's hard that it was really working to keep my attention, and that's a problem with me, and that's not a problem with this movie. But I got bored, and I'm sorry to say it, but Eddie makes me laugh. The RV, how much he loves the RV, and it's just an absolute dump, but he traded his house for it. Chevy Chase, to me, to me now, Chevy Chase is not who he used to be. He's Pierce from Community. Like that's who Chevy Chase is to me. I didn't really grow up on Chevy Chase that much. We grew up in a house that rated R movies weren't like the most common thing. So it took me a while to even see Christmas Vacation. So I don't know. It's a problem with me. I fully admit it. Thank you for the movie. I like it better than I do Vegas Vacation. That is for definite sure. I like it better than European Vacation too, but the original Vacation is the best one of the four.
I was just going to ask if you wanted to rank them. I'm a little surprised because Christmas Vacation for me is definitely a top 5 I have to watch every Christmas. It makes me laugh. I was going to say, oh no, the attic scene bores you. But then when you said that was hilarious, I'm like, okay, wait, him watching the old family reels, isn't what killed it for you? Okay. So
it's because he falls through the door when she opens it. I think that's all that it is. That cracks me up.
All right. But can we at least agree that this film has some truly great one-liners from Chevy Chase?
Oh, for sure.
Can I refill your eggnog for you? Get you something to eat? Drive you out to the middle of nowhere? Leave you for dead?
Okay,
and good. Not even always Chevy Chase. The pooper's full.
Yes, Uncle Eddie definitely steals the show several times. Fun fact about this movie, it's written by John Hughes, who everybody can remember from, let's see, Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Ferris Bueller, Weird Science. We could do an episode just based on John Hughes.
We might have to.
That I'm okay with that. He chose not to direct this one so that he could do Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and both to me are comedic genius. So I do wonder what would have been if he had done this one. But like I said, I think very highly of it. I'm sad to hear that the neighbor jokes don't hit. Now, will I admit that they are kind of awkward? I could see how it'd be an awkward addition to the story with Julie Louis-Dreyfus and the neighbors, but Todd. I think maybe I like that the snooty neighbors kind of get some karma and the Griswolds help them with that. I'm so surprised that you find the story to be slow. That squirrel chase scene doesn't just bring excitement to you, Brian?
It does, but I mean, I can't explain it. I know I've tried multiple times. I just think it's the neighbors. The scene that tells me, that specifically tells me that I could have done without them, is when they're being blinded by all the Christmas lights, and we just all of a sudden they randomly like fall down the stairs and stuff like that because they can't see and they can't see. Like, I just, none of that worked for me. Whenever I see Cousin Eddie show up, though, during that Christmas light scene, when he puts his arm around him and he's like, Eddie, you're here. Every time I see Eddie, he shows up in my screen as his character from Independence Day saying,
Hello, boys! I'm back!
so
Oh no.
that's Cousin Eddie for me. That is Randy Quaid at his finest.
I love that this film has that animated intro as well with the extremely catchy Christmas Vacation song. And then
Why is that not a song we hear every Christmas? Like, you
Yeah.
only hear that song with the movie. It's interesting.
That is actually a really good point. I know it's on Spotify, so I have it on my personal Christmas playlist, but you're right. That doesn't get, I don't know. We'll dig into that to find out. But also, it was the first time I heard Maliki Liki Maka. Now, it's a pretty funny scene where Clark is imagining what the pool would look like in his backyard. And of course, like Uncle Eddie comes in there, kind of ruins his dream, and then Clark gets a little sidetracked with what he's picturing with the pool. But yeah, that's another good holiday Christmas song that pops up in there.
Now I'm gonna say this, and you can judge me. Any of you can judge me as much as you want to. It took until my viewing of this yesterday to realize that Rusty is Johnny Galecki, the actor, the same person that plays Leonard on Big Bang Theory. I had no idea, no clue. I don't know how I missed the boat on that.
Yeah, that's
But
definitely him.
I don't watch either movie or show really that often, so that's what I'm going to chalk it up to. But it is, again, a lot of the issues that I had with this movie is all on me.
He kind of kept the same face. Like, he's not Paul Rudd where he didn't age. He definitely aged, but it's hard to explain. He just grew taller. Yeah, maybe it is. That's what I'll go with. But yeah, that's him from Big Bang.
Well, you talked about Christmas Story 2. Have you seen Christmas Vacation 2, Cousin Eddie's Island Adventure?
God.
You want to hear my favorite thing about this movie is it is a 2.7 out of 10 on IMDb.
Wow, that is below the 3 point something of Christmas Story too.
Wow.
Something about me is I won't ever review a movie until I've seen it. And I forced myself to watch Christmas Vacation 2, Cousin Eddie's Island Adventure. And it's that movie where they had a script and they were like, no one's going to buy this. You need to like partner it up with something or adapt it somehow. And they threw Cousin Eddie in there. You could just tell it was something else. And they threw Cousin Eddie in there to tie it into Christmas Vacation. So it's a sequel to a sequel of another film that has nothing to do really with the other films. So a spin-off, maybe? I don't know. But anyways, yeah, for all you out there, here's the summary, and I'll put on my preview voice. A holiday to the South Pacific goes awry when Cousin Eddie's family and a tour guide are shipwrecked on an island.
You forgot to start that with "in a world."
In a world where Cousin Eddie.
Bobby Newport's never had a real job in his life.
No, that's giving it too much excitement. Oh my
That's
god,
true.
it really is under 3 on IMDb.
Yeah, it's
Good.
bad.
I put it on, I stopped and came back to it. I was like, all right, you know what? I'll push through it. Maybe I'll just have it on in the background. And oh man, it hurt. It really did hurt. It might be a nominee for like top 10 worst movies that you watched. This is not a Christmas tradition. If someone needs a lump of coal, this may be something to show them. If you have that relative who just doesn't get the appeal of the Beatles or Christmas Vacation, maybe show them this movie because it sounds
Jeez.
like
I feel
it
attacked.
sounds. Oh, Brian. Oh, I didn't. Oh, I wasn't talking about you.
Don't you put that evil on me?
I was totally talking about Brian. Anyways, no, I won't recommend this movie, but if you're having a mystery science theater type night where you want to watch a bad movie and just commentate on it, we found you a movie.
Mystery Science Theater around Cousin Eddie's Island Adventure would be something I would watch immediately. Yeah, that would be. Yeah, that'd be funny. Like Tom Servo and Crow going at Cousin Eddie. Like I'm all for that.
Oh yeah, I would watch it.
But going back to Christmas Vacation, Clark Griswold he's an iconic character. I mean, Chevy Chase played him again. I know to me, he's Pierce Hawthorne, but that's just how I grew up. I just didn't watch a lot of Chevy Chase. But there's something in Christmas Vacation that will make every single person laugh, even my mother, which is saying something.
I have found that parents and grandparents do laugh quite a bit at this movie. Maybe it's just that old school slapstick comedy feel to it. And it definitely pushes that PG-13 rating. It
Is
might
it
not
rated
be.
R?
No, they
Christmas
got
Vacation. Not?
Yeah, they got away with some stuff in that
Really?
PG-13
I
movie.
just always assumed it was rated R, and even yeah, you're right. Holy cow!
Yeah,
Blows
they
my
got away
mind.
with some
I thought yeah, they did.
For me, I love Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo. I think in all of their movies, the chemistry between them is great. And in this movie, I just love it.
The gag of him driving under the log truck, like that's one of the things with me that it just didn't land with me. Like I guess it was funny, but it just didn't land with me. But what I do like about this and the way they did kind of all the vacation movies is they don't spend any time trying to reintroduce you to the characters. They just
Right.
are themselves. And if you haven't seen any of the previous films, then it doesn't take you really long to catch up, but we don't waste a bunch of time reestablishing who these people are. That much I really do like about it. You get right into the movie. I don't know. Like a fine movie, but I will watch The Muppet Christmas Carol and Elf every Christmas. This one I'll probably take a couple years off before I get back to it again.
Oh, and I'm sorry, but the filmmakers of the first Fast and Furious movie, don't tell me you were not inspired by the family wagon driving under that truck when you did that one scene in the first Fast and Furious movie. There was some inspiration there.
No, I'm just picturing Vin Diesel as the reboot of Clark Griswold.
Oh gosh, there actually was not a reboot, but you had that sequel, Vacation. There was one out there with Ed Helms, which it tried really hard, but it didn't have that same feeling. It tried to bring it up to a modern day comedy. You know, you had Ed Helms from the Hangover movies, Christina Applegate, who is hilarious. And
She's
of course,
hilarious.
Chris Hemsworth, he's in it. And I think this was one of his like definite first attempts to show that he can do something other than Thor. So good for him. But I think it went for more gross out adult comedy than actual comedy. So I think it struggled there. So we're going to move on from Christmas Vacation, and I have to give a shout out to a guilty pleasure Christmas movie that it actually warms my heart that more and more people are saying how much they enjoy it. It's a very early 2005 Ryan Reynolds flick called Just Friends. I remember I saw it and it was kind of a sad Christmas for me when I saw it, and so I was so happy to have a comedy and it made me laugh Anna Faris is in it, Amy Smart's in it, Chris Klein, but of course it's led by Ryan Reynolds, who he's in a fat suit. I won't say more than that 'cause I don't want to ruin it, but it's in the previews and even in pictures online. But the song "I Swear" from All for One. I don't know if it's ever been better used in a movie, but Ryan Reynolds did it justice in Just Friends. Check it out. It'll make you laugh. A lot of good slapstick comedy, and you have that Ryan Reynolds gold in it.
A few other Christmas musts at our house is fairly new to the game is Kurt Russell's Christmas Chronicles on Netflix.
Yes.
He's a really good Santa. I really like that. And then Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sinbad.
It's turbo time.
That movie is really, really funny. I really like that movie.
And you know what? I'm going to give a shout out to the holiday romantic movie, The Holiday, with Jack Black, Jude Law, Kate Winslet, and Cameron Diaz. That's a cute flick.
And of course, we do have to mention, we've mentioned it many, many times on UWF, but Mark, I just want to wish you a Merry Christmas. And for me, I just need you to sit down with a nice cup of hot chocolate and watch Jim Carrey's How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
I'm sorry for all those haters out there for the Jim Carrey's Grinch movie. I love it. It is on my Christmas movie Mount Rushmore. I can watch it anytime during the year. I love everything about it. And I'm glad it is also a holiday classic for a lot of people, even though there's lots of haters out there. I'm glad it has a strong following.
And as promised, here is our review from our Jim Carrey episode.
I thought about which Jim Carrey film I watched the most, which one I love every time I watch it, doesn't lose any of its meaning for me, and it has to be The Grinch. His performance in it is epic. He was nominated for a Golden Globe, should have been nominated also for an Oscar, but anyways, he was nominated for a Golden Globe, and you just see, it's one of those roles where he made the film. He made The Grinch. It would have been hard for him or hard for anyone to bring the impact that he did. Mike Myers can vouch for that, how hard it is to bring a Dr. Seuss character to real life. Rick Baker did the makeup for the film and won an Oscar for it, rightfully so. It's directed by Ron Howard, who did such films as Splash, Apollo 13, The Da Vinci Code. It has an all-star cast. I love the show that's inspired by it over at Universal. I know I mentioned that in our Universal episode of United We Fans, so check that out if you would love to hear me gush more of it. Have you wondered, where are you Christmas, and found that How the Grinch Stole Christmas brought that Christmas spirit to you?
His, like you said, his portrayal of the Grinch is what sold this film for not only just us, but it sold the whole film in general. But just how willing he was, his physical comedy was on full display in this film. And like I said, his costume, we talked a little bit more about his costume in our Seuss episode too, but just, it was literally individually sewn yak hair onto his skin, and just the amount of, very few people are willing to sell and dive into a role quite like him, especially kind of to put themselves as the butt of the joke to an extent as well.
Tick-tock, tick-tock, counting down the Christmas clock. Old, young, big, small.
But he nailed that role, and he just changed what that role is for, and how anybody views that character in general.
Yeah, and I mean, before this, my holiday films were, Home Alone and the Santa Claus. And then this one came along, and it, like I said, it's a must watch for me. Jim Carrey went above and beyond. He had to take classes with how to handle torture because of the contacts he had to wear for the Grinch. So mad respect there. The film has his wonderful one-liners, 6:30 p.m., dinner with me. I can't cancel that again. I find it hilarious. And then when he's trying on different clothes and he's having his little fashion show.
It's not a dress, it's a kilt! sicko!
The adaptation of the script. Obviously, you couldn't just make a live action feature length film of the short story, or sorry, the Dr. Seuss book. You had to expand on it. And I love what they did. His backstory, the young little Grinch, and also Cindy Lou doing investigative journalism to find out, she lost that Christmas feeling and she just wants to know why Whoville loves it so much. And then she relates to the Grinch. I love that. I think the animated Grinch movie, I know we mentioned it before, did not do a great job of adapting the story. There's Cindy Lou, so annoying. And shout out to Taylor Momsen, who plays Cindy Lou, a rare child actor who's not irritating. And when she sings "Where Are You Christmas," chills, literal chills every time.
I have definitely positive things to say about it. Every single scene that Jim Carrey is in does work for me. The rest of the film, there's stuff about it that I can definitely leave on the table. But overall, every Christmas it's on in my house, no question.
I know they got rid of it, but over at Universal Studios Hollywood, they even had the set from the film there, a portion of it, because the film was so big, and I loved this about it. It was practical sets. The art direction is amazing. The costumes are amazing. But the sets, they went over several sound stages. And anyone who's seen a soundstage, that gives you a pretty good idea just how big the set was. So I love any film that chooses practical over CGI. Now, granted, I know there's times where you have to use CGI, but you can tell the real sets on this one, and they look great. And Ron Howard, the director, I think he's underrated. I am sad. He did the film Willow and Backdraft. He was so appreciative of Jim Carrey, and he knows that it must not have been a lot of fun for Jim Carrey to be going through makeup and costuming for hours upon hours to film. He actually went in full Grinch outfit just to show his support, to say, hey, I'm sorry you have to do all this, but I support you, so I'm going to put on the outfit.
He also did Solo, a Star Wars story, Mark, and we might have to get back to one time the blasphemy you spoke about Donald Glover's Lando Calrissian in that movie, but that's a conversation for another time. But Ron Howard is a film genius for sure.
I liked the film Solo, just for anyone out there who thinks I'm a hater. But yes, we will come back to the Lando topic. And then, of course, the film is narrated by Sir Anthony Hopkins, Oscar winner and royalty with that Sir on there. He's Thor's dad. He's the narrator. And I think right away, you hear his voice. And just with the music by James Horner, it's just a great feeling overall from that film.
It does change the film if you imagine it being narrated by Hannibal Lecter.
Well, anyways, yeah. How the Grinch Stole Christmas, favorite Jim Carrey film, love it. Brings the emotions, the feels, and the laughter.
And if you're looking for a new Christmas movie this year, I want to bring up one more film before we wrap up, and that is Mel Gibson's Fat Man. If you do not know what Fat Man is, Mark, do you know what Fat Man is?
I do not.
I'm going to read you the premise of Fat Man. The trailer is laugh out loud funny. To save his declining business, Kris Kringle, Mel Gibson, also known as Santa Claus, is forced into a partnership with the United States military. Making matters worse, Chris gets locked into a deadly battle of wits against a highly skilled assassin hired by a precious 12-year-old after receiving a lump of coal in his stocking. That is a legitimate film that is brand new in 2020 in theaters now if you have movie theaters open near you.
And in an editor's note, now streaming on Peacock in the year 2023.
I'll just be running out to catch that one.
Isn't that just outrageous? But it's real. Like I saw the trailer and I thought there was no possible way, but it is a real film. I cannot give my assessment, but I will say it has more than doubled up Cousin Eddie's Island Adventure on IMDb.
I think it just goes to show, if you have an idea for a story, there's a market out there for it. Don't ever think you got a bad idea. You can sell it to someone.
Oh, somebody had a bad idea and it was this, but it still got sold.
Hey-o. And you know what, Brian? I think we also have to ask the age-old holiday question. Eggnog. Is Brian a fan of the nog?
Oh, why'd you have to phrase it that way? Have
wait,
you-
is that bad?
I mean, it just sounds gross. And I mean,
Okay, hang on.
you've met me. You know my eating sensibilities. You know my thoughts on eggnog.
Okay, well then, for our fans out there, is there a holiday beverage that is for Brian? Because I love eggnog. I even love warm apple cider. But is there a holiday beverage for Brian?
Martinelli's sparkling cider. I enjoy that. And then this past couple of weeks, we got Swiss Miss Lucky Charm Marshmallows hot chocolate. That's been
What?
fantastic.
Gotta check that out now.
I would plug this place called Malwart, but it rhymes with that.
Well, that concludes this holiday episode. We thank you, fellow fans, for uniting with us. For those listeners who want to get in touch with the show and stay up to date on everything UWF, please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, as well as X Twitter. We're there. We speak. We talk. We don't have much to say, but we say it. Thank you again, and listen to us wherever you check out your podcast. Till we unite again, fans. Brian, remind everyone of the 4 main food groups.
Candy, candy cane, candy corn, and syrup.
Ow! Son of a nutcracker!